Yes, we're live. Oh my
We
goodness.
are.
Still getting accustomed to the process of that. I want nothing to go
Yes.
wrong.
Yes, we here. We are here.
Yes. So it's on you, Miss Sounds. You're driving. Yeah. We got you driving. She's a good
Of
driver.
course. Of course. Of course. Well, welcome, future risers, to the Raised Voice Live podcast. Okay. We get on here to have live conversations. And if you're free, tune in. Don't just skip past. Don't just skip past us on YouTube. Yeah, I saw you scrolling because you wanted to watch a cat video. Watch us, okay?
X-ray vision. Supernatural. No.
Exactly. We saw, okay? I am Miss Sounds, your lovely co-host, and I'm here with the host of the show,
Miss
Azali.
Azali. I
Yeah.
got rid of the Lady Lee. You know why? Y'all got to learn to speak different names. There she goes starting. I'd start every time. It's not gonna stop for you. This is a part of my character and chosen personality.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is her podcast, so she can do what she wants to. Okay. Anywho,
That too.
any anywho, we are here to have a really great conversation. As you guys know, we have offline conversations in our actual daily lives that just overflow to here. So this is nothing
Yes.
new, nothing scripted, nothing prepared, just an overflow. So welcome to the overflow, right? We
Mm-hmm.
gon' we gonna get started. How we usually do on the podcast is we open with the word of the day. So Azali, are you ready to do some word of the day with me? Because I got a
I'm
good
going to try.
quote.
I'm gonna try. I think I'm ready, but since we're kind of doing this in the mojo, let's see what I got.
All right. Oh, that's fair. All right. So the word of the day for today is the beauty of the world lies in the diversity of its people.
Oh, she's gonna go for the jugular.
Yeah.
I will not fall down right now. That's good. Okay, that's good. Wow.
Yes.
All right, you going to start? I'm going to start.
You start.
That word diversity is the big thing that shows up for me in this moment. I really didn't understand what diversity was for a very long time, and that it can be celebrated without conflict. I didn't know that. It took me a while to understand that. I really thought that diversity was something that was unstructured, unorganized, and they therefore would only be turbulence. Until I
Mm,
realized that in some turbulence, you find who you are, and then you become a very steady person.
mm.
I don't know. That's what I got.
Yeah. No, that's good. That is good, actually. I was like, yeah. No,
Okay.
because I think sometimes when we think of diversity, we think of a bunch of different competing, rich, I would say in my words, cultures or
Mhm.
kind of ethnicities or ways of being that one might overpower the rest of
Yeah.
them. And I don't know that we explore much of a beautiful dance where
Yeah.
maybe at some points one is leading the dance and the others are kind of compliments, and then one leads the dance, and like, where we all kind
Yes.
of have a chance to lead the dance in the
Yes.
conversations and sharing. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know
Can I
that
give
I
like a funny analogy to that? Because,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm weird and I'm okay being weird. It's all right. I was actually thinking of those who love ketchup and those who love tomatoes, and that being one of the
Okay.
weirdest diversity that's there. And yet we feel like we have to have a big conversation. Oh, but ketchup come from tomatoes. You gotta like tomatoes, or you like the tomato. You gotta like the ketchup. Why? Why do we gotta? So I don't know. That was weird, but that's what came to my mind in terms of a very simple conflict, diversity,
Mm,
where, as we always say, the general population can understand that. Right. And why do I bring that up? Because culturally, I used to be like with my kids, oh, you're gonna eat the tomato. It's fresh. We grew it. Like literally, we really do grow the tomatoes. And my son is like,
mm.
just not a fan of tomatoes.
Yeah.
And my daughter is, she's a fan of both. And my son is like, I'll stick with the ketchup. I'm good.
Yeah.
So, even in that, right, as a West Indian woman, it's like, do you force them to do this thing which you were taught, like, whatever I give you, you better consume that and be grateful and thankful, or you're sleeping on the table till you eat it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna fight that. Let's whatever. They're eating, thank God.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was the weirdest thing that came to my mind.
Right. Right. I think that maybe in this term, in terms of this quote, for me, I feel like diversity, I don't know that it's been utilized to its full extent. Like that I don't think we've seen the beauty just yet. I think we're still having conversations to find the beauty, but I think that what we'll find is that us understanding the differences in each other is
Mhm.
not it's not ammunition for judgment.
Right,
It's not so that we can say, oh, you do it like that, or oh, you do it like that, or oh, you eat that.
right.
It's so that we can go, wow, look how beautiful the human race is. Look how different we are, and look how we can still kind of live in the same earth, with all these
Yeah.
differences.
Yeah,
I think it's
acceptance. So a level of acceptance that comes from trying to understand versus judging first is
yeah,
that what I hear? So yeah, that's
yeah,
tough. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's
yeah. I'm saying we still in conversation. I don't think that it has got
right, right, right.
in there yet.
Make sure
But
they know that. we're,
yeah,
we're
I
saying
think
that is the beauty of where we'd like to go. That is the garden we would like to visit
yeah,
often. But sometimes we forget to
yeah,
visit that garden by creating it within ourselves and therefore creating it in the world. But we're saying that we desire
yeah,
to grow that type of fruit in the garden of our life that God has given us is a celebration of the beauty of the human being and then the human race
yeah,
by learning to not judge always first, slow to judgment, and a lot quicker to understanding than acceptance, etc.
yeah, yeah. More curiosity first, Oh, okay. How, exploring the depths of why things are the way they are, versus coming to a conclusion right off the bat. We would like to eventually get there.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal, but we're still in conversation, I think, as a people to find
Yes.
that
Yeah.
dance. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was good. That was good. Okay.
That
Say,
was an
say we got
icebreaker. That just happened. That just
yes, we got our palettes going. We, what I'm
yes.
saying? We practice, getting our minds moving and warming up our hearts for the conversation that we're about to have,
Yes.
which is a kind of a part two to the last conversation we were having about culture and the ways in which we are either mindfully engaging in it or mindlessly engaging in culture, and whether or not, in our own lives, we've seen mindfulness or mindlessness as we are just passing traditions down or passing just cultural knowledge and understanding down. So today, I wanted to sort of take it to another perspective and talk about the ways in which what role does autonomy play in being a part of a system or culture, because I know our backgrounds are similar in that there
Yeah.
is a more collectivist type of culture where everyone kind of depends on the other person in some way or see themselves as a part of a whole.
Yeah.
And then we live currently in a cultural system in America that is more on the individualistic side,
Yes.
really um really putting emphasis on shining in your own uniqueness.
Yeah.
And being a part of both, those two can conflict.
Woo.
And they they can
In a
conflict a lot.
struggle right now, in a struggle, in a struggle. So sometimes when you see people shimmying and shaking, it's an inner struggle. They ain't dancing. They're
Yeah.
battling. I
Yes.
mean that. I mean that. They're not dancing like you think. They're battling, like you
Yes.
said,
Yeah.
two major forces vying to cultivate and redefine their identity. Uh-huh. I said it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And we see that there is a beauty in receiving something that was passed down to you in the
Yes.
form of culture, honoring it and cherishing the beauty of it, at the same time, not losing your own unique perspective of the culture that has been handed to you. So I wanted to dive into that. Like, how is it that we see how are we engaging currently? What does our current life look like in terms of engaging with culture, but being aware enough to say, hey, I can't lose myself completely in
Yeah.
just taking this. I need to be present to it, kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell you on a negative side. Yeah, we're going to do some exposure. I'll expose me. You ain't got to do it. I got it.
Yep.
The thing I've been thinking about that I believe can connect to this topic a little bit uniquely is something you have brought up in previous conversations. This guilt and shame or shaming uh, to create change.
Yeah.
It is deeply rooted in me. I ain't gonna lie. I'm talking about on the parenting side though, because I don't feel a need to guilt my friends into being shameful in order to be a better friend. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's all right. You want to do the work for us to be close. It's cool. But I am realizing that the lack of parenting that I received growing up, while it was something I never wanted to repeat, I have repeated some of those very cultural, ritualistic, non empathic ways
Mm.
of getting my children to do what I want them to do.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
I mean, it's the truth. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I didn't say I was proud of it. I'm saying that I'm like waking up that I do that automatically a lot more than I should. And then I catch myself like, wait a minute, are we not doing transformation here? What are you doing, Asali?
Yeah.
It, it, it gets into you. It gets in there. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care how many people you help around you. There's some stuff ingrained in you, regardless of if you're from a third world country or here right here in America.
Yeah.
That is a daily struggle
Yeah.
because you do it in automatic, even though when you don't want to.
Yeah.
So this guilt and shaming thing is something I have really been trying to deconstruct. Now I'm only at the
Mm.
30% mark, so don't cheer yet. I ain't gonna be out here
Yeah.
like 30, 30,
Yeah.
30 out of 100 is not passing.
Yeah.
I just want y'all to know.
Yeah.
In no country is 30, okay, out of 100
Yeah.
passing in terms of scores. So really, really at the beginning stage, having to give myself a lot of reminders. So when you talk about the cultural um where we see ourselves as a community, and so I can't fall or a whole village or a whole people fall or a whole family falls, and the ritual of, I got to go to school to be an engineer. I've got to go to school to be a doctor, right? These ritual traditional things. And then
Yeah.
we talk about autonomy that says, I'm going to look at some of those automatic things and I want to create options.
Yeah.
Even this thing of shame and guilt comes in for me because I'm like, if you're doing those so deeply steep tradition, how are you creating options for you and your family again?
Yeah.
Guilty. Take me
Yeah.
away. I did it.
Yes. Yes. No, I totally, just to stay on that, with guilt and shame, I think, it comes through parenting, but and then in my um experiences also comes through my self-image, my self-talk. How I talk to myself, the standards that I set for me that may be unrealistic and or not informed by my emotional state, my capacity that in that season of my life. I'm just not seeing me. I'm just seeing how I should attain a certain standard. And it's
Yes.
just, and I think that's where the part where you are missing, that's where I'm missing from the equation. The culture has given me a standard, which is great, right? We should have, I think, some standards, things to reach for.
Yes.
But if I am rigid in achieving that standard, I lose me, which
Yes.
is the part of me that needs to check in and see, how are you feeling? What's going on in your life? What capacity do you have? Are you sick right now? Are you 100% healthy? Like, all of
Yes.
these cause me to have a conversation with myself.
Yeah.
And that's where the autonomy comes in, to choose, what can I do now in this particular situation that may
Yeah.
be below the standard, quote unquote, but
Yeah.
it serves me now in this moment.
Yeah. It's
And I
almost like a re-empowerment. I'm filling back up, but you want me to get premium gas, I can't afford it.
exactly.
I'm gonna pull out of the gas station and my car is gonna leave me on the road. Guys, I'm just using some really basic stuff, like for real, for real. Like, what
Yeah.
Miss Sound said was sometimes I gotta do it below the standard just for a little moment. Let me catch my breath. I'm
Right.
gonna level up, right? So imagine that you
Right.
can't afford premium gas because your money gonna run
Yeah.
out real quick, and then by the time you leave the gas station and make the left, your
You stuck on the
car
highway.
stop, ran out of gas. Ran out of gas. So no, it's a great point, and for some strange reason, another connector, as you were mentioning that came to me, is sometimes in marriage that happens. There's a guilt and a shaming that happens in marriages, especially culturally established ones, where I didn't just marry
Mm.
him, I didn't just marry her, I married them. Y'all know,
Mm.
don't look at me funny. You can look at me, it's
Mm-hmm.
funny, it's all right.
Yeah.
Can't see you. And what happens is some people within marriages start to change, where, like you're saying, they got to dip down for a moment below the standard that was put on them or that they created,
Yeah.
not understanding the weight of it. And then somebody's like, yo, you've changed, this marriage is over. But wait, I'm just taking a breath down here. I know you want me to sit up. I need to lay down. I'm gonna be back up soon. Right. So that's another
Mm.
thing that came to me in being mindful and intentional about when there is a cultural constraint on you or a boundary line in your need and want to become a better version of you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you do have to dip below the structure for a moment to
Yeah.
reevaluate how you want to show up.
Yeah. And or recreate the structure for your own
Yeah.
life, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I
Yeah.
think conflict comes in with the autonomy and the culture, because the culture said this is what everybody do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This Everybody do this at all times in all seasons of your life. Bam.
Yes.
And I think that while ethnically it may be a diverse culture compared to others, there's no diversity in the flow of how we're supposed to do this. Like, I think the diversity in this context comes for me, it's like, it may not be a diverse, there may not be diverse messaging in terms of diversity of life circumstances. So it's
Yeah.
very like one way, we all have to do it this way at every single point. But I wonder if there was any like roundtable discussions about like, hey, so when my leg broke, do I still gotta do that way?
Right. Right.
do
Right.
can I
Right.
show up for my kids 100% as a mom when I am juggling a work from home job and gotta
Yeah.
take it out? Like,
Right.
where's I guess the conversations with about that, I feel like we can't, I don't think we can necessarily put all of that on whoever created these standards. I think this is where the autonomy comes in, where we can
Yeah.
now say, yes, there are structures in place of how we operate in this particular culture, but here's where my autonomy comes in. When I start living and experiencing my actual life and
Yes.
take an inventory of it, and I can make a decision based on the inventory.
Yeah. And part of guys, so when Miss Sound is using autonomy, we are just looking at how to evaluate certain things in order to create options that were not given to you. Right? Is that's one of the aspects that we really want
Yeah.
you to hear us say. And do not hear us bashing culture. Because let me tell you something. We have rediscovered beauty within our cultures that was not taught to us. But in the investigation of wanting to find the beauty that we mentioned in the beginning, we're like, oh, yeah, cool to be from the West Indies. I pick up languages real quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a beauty, right? That was
Mm-hmm.
something when, they were forcing me to have to do Spanish and French. It's too much. But now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they were creating within me a threshold and a capability to be able to learn diverse languages. They didn't tell me that. They said I had to take both. So that's part
Right.
of what Ms. House is saying, right?
Yeah.
Is that we just really would love to see more conversations that are lessons that are not just instructional or orders, but actual
Yeah.
conversations to say, like, honey, when I was telling you to take this and this, mom wasn't trying to force da 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 da. I was just thinking that, I see this talent in you. And if you take this, I believe it's going to further you. Or, something along that way would have been wonderful. But
Yeah.
what we're
And
saying, since we didn't get that, we're now being more mindful to try to create those conversations and those opportunities, is what we're saying. So just don't hear us
yeah.
bashing culture. We're saying
No.
that we have chosen from what we didn't get to create something better to give forward. Miss Sounds, just
Yeah.
make sure I'm on the right track because I don't want to mess up
Yes.
your topic. Okay.
No. 100%. That's what the message is. Where I can give a lot of grace in this area as well. Again, no, not bashing culture. We're both a part of cultures that are very rich, but it is a good thing to critique and have discussion about certain things within these spaces that we've existed in. And
Yes.
one of the things I think I can give, where I've discovered that, okay, this is a place for grace, is I wonder how many uh how much of the cultural climate is kind of fueled by preserving the culture, right?
Mm,
And the fear of it dying.
yeah.
And so some of these very quick kind of methods used to kind of get the culture in the future generation
Yeah.
are as a result of just, we don't want to lose this beautiful thing. We cannot lose this, or
Yeah.
else if we lose this, we lose us, and our significance is no longer a part of this earth, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's the grace part where there's some fear there that, hey, I got to get this into you fast. I ain't got time to explain because,
Right.
and, maybe I don't even know that I'm doing this, that I'm trying to preserve it so much because I have that, I have that voice going on in my head, preserve, preserve, preserve. And it just keeps getting passed down. But it is in a very, in the most respectful way I'm saying this, but it is like a scarcity message.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And so boy, I got a lot of ideas in my head. But what that connected me back to is again back to that shaming and guilt where you use it as a mechanism or method or pipeline to preserve something. So not only you are remembered after you're no longer here or in a certain atmosphere, not necessarily you've died, but I'm no longer in my youth. I'm no longer the athlete. I'm no longer the whatever. And so my legacy needs to carry on through friends, family, children, whatever. And it is a scarcity mindset because I'm afraid to be irrelevant. I'm afraid to disappear. And I'm afraid that I could yet be here, but you not see me.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So it can stem from a good intention of preservation, but executed inappropriately. Guilty here first.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's
I
true.
mean,
I'm
totally
at
not
30%. 30%. You might as well lay on the floor right now, right? Don't even offer me a chair. Give me a chair when I'm at 50. I've done work.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but it can start with a good intention of like you said, I ain't got time to tell you everything, but listen, I need you to understand the way we play tennis, you know, you got to hold the racket with both hands. You got to practice 30 minutes every day. And you don't
Mm.
explain anything else. You just say we got to do this. This is the way you got to do it. And it can have a well-oiled intention, but
Mm-hmm.
executed in a manner that does not create the result you're looking for, because then you create a traumatic experience for the one you're trying to help preserve.
Yeah.
And it can just go out of hand. And a lot of times you can't save that. So this
Mm.
reevaluation and reinvestigation, you're right, it's so important because a lot of well-intentioned
Yeah.
ideas are not executed well or safely,
Yeah.
and they mess up a whole lot of stuff. And so that's part of the outlier in our conversation today, is as to why we have chosen to investigate. It ain't to be better than anybody. It's to be better than ourselves from yesterday.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the whole sometimes if you've been maybe hurt by culture or a certain culture or any cultural group you're a part of, sometimes hearing that things were well intentioned might trigger something, because it didn't, the impact wasn't well intentioned. It didn't feel like well intentioned. I think
Mm-hmm.
that it takes a lot of digging to really get to that place of radical acceptance, as well as forgiveness in those aspects to say,
Yeah.
okay, here's what may have been happening underneath the surface. And kind of branching off a little bit, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stories not told, kind of passed down, right? So a lot of what we hear is so and so used to do this and this is how we do it. But
Yeah.
in my experience, there's times I don't remember many like narratives in some cases of how someone used to be. Well, how did you grow up and what happened? I think
Yeah.
that those could really bring color to these conversations of passing down traditions.
Yeah.
And maybe the person telling it might not be able to say, this is why we do this, but their story might tell us
Yes.
why, might give us
Yeah.
clues, you know?
Yeah. That reminds me of something you and I talked about, and I'm very sure it was offline, where we were just saying in the Christian faith, and we're allowed to talk about it because we
Mm-hmm.
believe in God,
Mm-hmm.
that one of the things that was missing or is missing is the elderly woman or more seasoned woman mentoring someone who just got into the faith, but not doing it in a way of doom and gloom. This is step 1 to 10. But the conversation of saying, there's a lady at my church, I'm not going to mention her name. I see elegance every time I see her. I see elegance every time I see her. She is just beautiful, an older lady. And so one day I had the courage to just go up and compliment her. And I remember I did that several times. And she said, honey, if you only knew how God picked me up. And I just couldn't see that. That didn't connect for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an opportunity sometime after doing that several times that we just started to have these conversations. And when she shared how she was prior to me even seeing her, I still couldn't put it together. So those conversation was a mentorship for me. I understand that it didn't have the stamp of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I took it to understand that it's great to celebrate people, but it's so much better to know, like you said, a part of the journey. So that when you
Yeah.
love on them, oh my gosh, you're gonna love on them deep, understanding. Like, I'm not loving on the perfection you appear to have, but
Yeah.
I love on where you are now with a little bit of understanding where you're coming from. You empower me every time I see you. So even if we don't have any more conversations, every time I see her, I just feel happy
Yeah.
because I'm like, hey, one day, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like
Yeah.
so and so done gone through and carrying through, and
Mm.
so is that type of thing that we're seeing that is missing, and we want to see more of that, and we're trying to create our small scale of that, of those conversations that a tradition that are not the order, the step 1 to 10, do this every day for the next 45 years. But who are you and how did you get here? And who influenced
Yeah.
you? And how did you decide that that influence was something that you would, execute in your own life? Those are the things that would be awesome
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
more of.
Yeah. I think of the example like we talked about last time of cooking again,
Mm-hmm.
and those stories where for me in my cultural context, it was a lot of presentation, like so bomb cooks in the culture.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like very, very skilled. Um, and there's an aspect similar to what you explained where you as a newbie in a newbie mind going, oh my gosh, I could never reach. Like they are so, you know what I'm saying? Like they are the
Yes.
pinnacle of society and
Yes.
womanhood and all that, right? And I
Yes.
remember stories like being in awe younger and really coming up in my own mind as to how they got there, which was they were born like that and they just started cooking from the womb, you know, and it didn't help the stories that came back from them,
Right.
which was that when I was 3, I was already mixing rice, and you know what I'm saying. I was like, what?
Gel up, rice. No, no, I'm sorry.
Right. Like I was already cooking for the whole family at 3 years old, like that kind of thing.
Right.
It as a younger person was like, what am I doing with my life? Right. It didn't really make
Yes.
me, it didn't, I felt further from the standard in that
Yes.
case. Right. And so I think what would have helped, I say this as a person looking, kind of peering back into the child version of me, what would have helped is a story about how you burnt the rice
Yes.
and right? And
And
how do you feel
practiced. Yeah.
and practice
And
to
then got
get
real
there.
good. Right.
Exactly.
Now
Right.
you can take one of my eye. I got it.
exactly. Your your who you are in the story
Yeah.
will awaken the who I am in my story. And
Yes.
so I need to hear who you are in your story. I don't need to hear the perfect, sealed up,
Yes.
gifted version. I want to hear the trials and the triumphs so that
Yeah.
it awakens the autonomy. I mean, obviously we don't think this is how it works, but I feel like that way awakens the autonomy in me to say there is possibility. There is choice to keep getting back up and keep trying and keep practicing. Like that develops a growth mindset in me once
Yeah.
I can hear how you took your choices and
Yeah.
created options for you.
Yeah.
I feel like, yo, I'm activated at this point. So I can become,
Yeah.
and um that's kind of I think what have probably, if I could look back, one of the wishes, which would be that I heard more stories of the trials and the triumphs in also that vein. Sorry, I'm like I had another point that just came to me. In
Yeah.
also that vein, I think that here's my graceful lens, which is that I don't know how much certain cultures believe in the wealth of mistakes and bouncing back. Like we are so resilient. All these cultures so resilient to be here
Yes.
now, so resilient. And I think it's our superpower.
Yes.
But to be resilient is not just to show that you've overcome, it's to show how something tried to take you out and then you kept getting back up to overcome it,
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know how much we see the superpower of resilience tied to all the mess in between that got us here. I think we just erase that part sometimes and just like, here's
Yeah.
how I've always been perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I really like that you added that piece because what came to mind for me is this thing of you hear a lot of conversation about, oh, we have such entitled children we're raising in the US.
Mm.
Okay, and we do. I get it. However, we're saying that this could be a possible solution for you in your life to do this investigation, the balance, the conversation, because some of the reasons why a child is reared up as entitled comes out of fear from exposing my bad stuff to that kid. And then they end up doing only the bad stuff. So I
Mm.
only give them good stuff and good dreams and good thoughts, and they never get to see any emotion but mommy and daddy happy and positive
Mm.
all the time. And then they grow up, they get married, and they expect that their marriage is going to last 45 years because my parents has never argued. They've never thrown something across the room.
I'm done.
Okay. Right? Okay. And then you find out daddy had a secret life. Okay, I'm not putting it on the man. I just
Uh-oh.
thinking out loud.
Uh-oh.
And the child at 35 is shocked. My dad
Mm-hmm.
that was married to my mama for 45 years. And like, ain't no way.
Yeah.
Why? Because as Miss Sound says, sometimes we don't show enough of the good and the bad as a balancer. We show one side too much. Because there's also that side where we just show all the negative, all the trial, never a triumph. And then we end up having young people with anxiety and depression too soon
Mm.
because no one is showing them the triumphs. They're only talking about the triumph.
Mm.
Oh, we were born in, we've lived in this suburb, this family for 55 years. And so having the gangs and the drugs, this is it. This is what we know. Our whole
Mm.
mm,
Mm.
that's all we're gonna talk to them about. That's it. That's all our family did. And then they can't move. Why they can't move from
Mm.
Chicago to Detroit or Detroit to Delaware? What? They have
Yeah.
to stay. So I like that you brought that up of the resilience because I find that when it comes to entertainers and athletes, we celebrate their resilience as if they're not regular people too. Because we see their superpower on display.
Yeah.
We think that's all they are. They're nothing but superpower. Bionic man and bionic woman. That's it. That's all they are. They don't eat with a spoon.
Yeah. Right. They don't go to the
Yeah,
bathroom. Yeah.
right.
They're
Yeah.
just
No, they do. They do. I don't know why you need proof, but they do. No. You know. So no, you're
yeah.
right. So this thing of resilience is in all of us. It's in babies who end up having certain health and wellness things that they have to fight early on.
Yeah.
And the baby and they triumph. The resilience, it's born in us. But what's left for us to do is to choose which way we're going to go. Are we going to go towards the superpowers that we feel? Are we going to derail that and just follow the leader with no thought process? What are you going to do? Because obviously, if you go after your superpower, it's going to require you to do the work. Oh, that's for sure. Oh, you've seen girl groups and what happens. If something gets messed up, they can't follow the leader no more and they go on their own. They either make it or break it. That right there was a pivot. That was a pivot in their resilience that they had to figure out and work it out. So we're here just to bring some concepts of why we recommend investigating. We do not recommend trying to say, I'm no longer connected to my culture. I'm done with my culture. That ain't it. If that's what you're hearing, send a prayer request to azali777@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Because that's not it.
That's not it. No.
That's not it. We're just saying that now in 2024, having deeper conversations that are not just instructional or rigid is the way to go to help us to heal, to help us not to go deeper into depression, and to allow us to figure out how to be a balance and therefore find your superpower that will tell you your purposes, not your purpose, not this one word thing, because resilience does not build on purpose, but purposes. There are little things you got to do as well as big things, not just one entire big thing. So, I don't know. That's where we are. We didn't want to stay too long, but we wanted to take our time and unfold this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we appreciate y'all so much. I'm gonna let Miss Sound wrap us up, but this conversation has my mind percolating on and on some things I really have to do more work. Like I said, I'm at 30% because every day it's revealing itself, and I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah,
I don't like. I'm doing this thing automatically, and I don't like it. I don't like it. So
yeah,
I don't need nobody to tell me get rid of it. Now I don't like it. I'm like, yeah, we got some work to do.
yeah.
And so that's where I am on that. So Miss Sounds, I'm gonna let you do the wrap on this thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you hopping on here, have a little conversation with me.
Oh, it was good. It was good. I needed it. I'm gonna go pop popcorn and think in my mind. No Netflix. I'll be.
Yeah. I want to just end it off by, I guess I just have 2 points, which is one that we can't sit here and say disconnect from culture, because the reason why I say that is not, I reiterate, that's not the message, but also I can't say that with my whole heart, is because for me, when I look back, I may not know all who have done what they've done to get me here, right? To make sure that I'm here. But I think that I can't disconnect from the labor, investigation, experimentation of a few people that sat down and said, this is going to be the culture. I can't disconnect from that. I can't dishonor that. I just feel like that took a lot of courage to sit down and say, in a world that has possibility to be anything we want, we're going to choose this, right? And then we're going to experiment and see how it works. And we're going to pass it down, that kind of thing. I think what I want to say is that I think it's always honor due to that. Anybody who is courageous enough to do that, there's honor due there. And then I also think that I want to end on, I think it's time to really explore a more abundant way of passing things down, not one of fear and scarcity, but of there's so much potential as to what this can become rather than this will be lost and gone forever if we do not manage it. And so that is my hope, that we can really have abundant mindsets and heart postures towards culture.
Yeah, I love that. As you guys know, future risers, we always ask you to stay empowered. And I know that that is tough and it's a big request, but we just believe you can. We said resilience, right? So we're going to believe it until you believe it. That empowerment is really just trying to find the silver lining, finding the sunshine, finding the hope, having the moment to exhale, having a moment to dream. Find all of that. It helps your soul. It does. And if you can help your soul and encourage your spirit, you can fly high. I'm trying to tell you, you can, because then you become your own empowerment plug in. I said it. You plug in your car, right? I seen you. You put that thing, cost you $10,000, hook it up to your new house. Okay, so you can plug in and charge your car. Who's charging you though? I'm just asking. Who's charging your mind? Who's charging your will, your hope, your inspiration, your motivation? That's all we're saying. So stay empowered, stay encouraged, stay inspired, find the hope, grab onto it, hold on to it, do the homework, and then show up to talk with us. We love y'all. We're looking forward to having more engagement. If you're not going to be positive or teach us something, there are other podcasts that you can join. Not a threat, just telling you where we stand. We just want people to come, learn, glean, execute, tell us about the triumph, tell us about the trial. We're here for you. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.